Hi, Jack. One of the most useful communication skills that people can develop is the ability to talk about their day in a clear, organized, and interesting way. Because when you know how to describe your daily experiences with confidence and enough detail, you can keep conversations flowing naturally and make other people genuinely interested in what you are saying.
I completely agree, Mary, because many people answer the question, how was your day? With only a few words, but if they learn how to explain what happened, what they learned, what challenges they faced, and how they felt throughout the day, they can transform a simple conversation into an engaging and meaningful discussion.
For example, instead of saying, "My day was good," you can say, "My day was quite productive because I completed several important tasks, learned a new skill that will help me in the future, and even found time to relax and reflect on my goals," which immediately gives the listener much more information and creates opportunities for further conversation.
That is a great example because when you add specific details about your activities, achievements, and experiences, you make your story more vivid and interesting, allowing the other person to understand your day better and respond with thoughtful questions or comments.
Another important tip is to describe your day in a logical order, starting with the morning, moving through the afternoon, and ending with the evening, because this structure helps listeners follow your story easily without becoming confused or losing interest in what you are trying to communicate.
Yes, and it is also helpful to include your thoughts and emotions because people usually connect more with feelings than with simple facts. So explaining why a particular event made you excited, nervous, proud, or motivated can make your story much more memorable and relatable.
I also think that mentioning lessons learned during the day can make your conversation sound more professional and mature, because it shows that you are not only describing events but also reflecting on them and finding ways to grow from your experiences.
Absolutely, and when you talk about challenges you faced and how you overcame them, you demonstrate problem-solving skills and resilience, which often makes your stories more inspiring and valuable to the people who are listening to you.
In addition, using descriptive language can greatly improve the quality of your conversation because instead of giving short and simple answers, you can paint a clear picture of your experiences and help the listener imagine exactly what happened throughout your day.
That is true, Mary, because the more clearly and confidently you describe your daily experiences, the more comfortable you become with speaking English. And over time, you develop stronger communication skills that can benefit you in both personal and professional situations.
So, if someone wants to talk about their day like a professional, they should focus on providing useful details, organizing their story clearly, expressing their emotions honestly, and sharing lessons or insights that they gained from their experiences.
Exactly, and by practicing this approach every day, anyone can become a more confident speaker, improve their English fluency, and turn ordinary conversations about daily life into engaging discussions that people genuinely enjoy listening to.
Another technique that can make your description of the day sound much more professional and engaging is to focus not only on what happened, but also on why those events were important to you. Because when you explain the significance of your experiences and how they influenced your thoughts, decisions, or future plans, you create a deeper and more meaningful conversation that keeps people interested from beginning to end.
That is an excellent point, Mary, because people are usually more interested in hearing about the personal value of an experience rather than simply listening to a list of activities. And when you explain how a particular event taught you something new, changed your perspective, or motivated you to improve yourself, your story becomes far more memorable and impactful.
I also believe that ending your description of the day with a reflection about what you would like to improve tomorrow can make you sound thoughtful and self aware, because it shows that you are constantly evaluating your experiences, learning from both your successes and mistakes, and making a conscious effort to become a better version of yourself every single day.
Exactly, and this habit of reflecting on your day not only helps you become a stronger communicator, but also encourages personal growth. Because by regularly analyzing your experiences, identifying valuable lessons, and setting goals for the future, you develop a mindset that is focused on continuous learning, improvement, and long-term success.
One of the most powerful ways to talk about your day like a professional communicator is to connect the different events of your day into a meaningful story rather than describing them as separate activities. Because when you explain how one experience led to another, how certain decisions affected the outcome of your day, and how each situation contributed to your personal or professional development, you create a narrative that is much more engaging, coherent, and enjoyable for people to listen to.
I completely agree with that perspective, Mary, because the difference between an ordinary conversation and an impressive one often comes down to the speaker's ability to transform simple daily events into valuable insights. And when you take the time to explain not only what happened but also what you observed, what challenges you encountered, how you adapted to unexpected situations, and what conclusions you reached by the end of the day, you show a level of maturity awareness.
Furthermore, people who are skilled at talking about their day often make an effort to include moments of learning, gratitude, and self-reflection in their stories, because these elements help create a balanced and meaningful conversation that goes beyond routine activities, allowing listeners to understand not only what the speaker did throughout the day, but also how those experiences contributed to their personal growth, emotional well-being, and understanding of the world around them.
That is absolutely true, because when someone consistently shares detailed experiences, thoughtful reflections, and meaningful lessons from their day, they gradually develop the ability to communicate with greater confidence and authenticity, which can strengthen relationships, improve professional interactions, and make even the most ordinary daily experiences sound interesting, inspiring, and worth discussing with others.
In my opinion, one of the clearest signs that a person knows how to talk about their day like a true professional is their ability to transform ordinary experiences into meaningful stories that contain useful lessons, personal reflections, and thoughtful observations. Because instead of simply mentioning where they went or what they did, they explain how those experiences influenced their mindset, helped them overcome difficulties, improved their understanding of a particular situation.
I could not agree more, Mary, because the most interesting conversations are usually not about extraordinary events, but about the way people interpret and communicate their everyday experiences. And when someone describes the challenges they faced, the strategies they used to solve problems, the emotions they experienced throughout the day, and the lessons they learned from both their successes and mistakes.
Another important aspect of speaking about your day, professionally, is learning how to highlight the most significant moments while still maintaining a clear structure. Because if you can guide your listener through the events of the day in a logical and organized way, explain why certain moments were particularly important, and connect those experiences to your future goals and aspirations, you create a conversation that is not only easy to follow, but also inspiring and thought-provoking for the people around you.
Exactly, and when you consistently practice describing your daily experiences with detailed explanations, thoughtful reflections, and a positive attitude toward learning and improvement, you gradually become more confident in expressing your ideas, more comfortable speaking English in different situations, and more capable of turning even the simplest day into a compelling story that informs, motivates, and leaves a lasting impression on your audience.
What I find particularly impressive about people who can talk about their day in a professional and engaging manner is that they are able to combine facts, emotions, reflections, and future goals into a single well-structured conversation. Because they understand that effective communication is not simply about reporting events, but about helping others understand the significance of those events, the challenges that were encountered, the lessons that were learned.
That is a very important observation, Mary, because when people develop the habit of speaking thoughtfully about their daily experiences, they also strengthen many other valuable skills at the same time, such as critical thinking, self-reflection, emotional intelligence, and public speaking, all of which can contribute greatly to their personal development, academic success, and professional growth.
Furthermore, a person who talks about their day like a professional often pays close attention to the details that truly matter, selecting experiences that reveal something meaningful about their journey, their goals, or their personal growth, rather than overwhelming the listener with unnecessary information. And this ability to identify and communicate the most valuable aspects of an experience is what makes their stories both interesting and memorable.
Absolutely, because the real purpose of talking about your day is not merely to describe a sequence of events, but to share experiences in a way that creates understanding, encourages meaningful conversation, and inspires both the speaker and the listener to think more deeply about the opportunities, challenges, and lessons that everyday life provides. Which is why mastering this skill can have such a powerful impact on communication, relationships, and long-term personal growth.
One of the most remarkable qualities of individuals who have mastered the art of talking about their day like true professionals is their ability to transform even the most ordinary moments into meaningful narratives that capture attention, inspire reflection, and encourage productive conversation. Because they understand that every experience, no matter how small it may seem at first glance, contains valuable insights, lessons, emotions.
I completely agree, Mary, because professional communicators do not simply focus on describing the events that occurred throughout the day.
Another aspect that distinguishes highly effective speakers is their ability to connect the experiences of a single day to broader life goals, personal values, and future aspirations. Because when someone explains how a particular event reinforced an important lesson, strengthened a valuable skill, increased their confidence, or motivated them to pursue a specific objective.
Exactly, and when people consistently practice discussing their daily experiences with depth, clarity, and thoughtful reflection, they gradually develop the ability to communicate complex ideas more effectively, build stronger relationships through meaningful conversations, express themselves with greater confidence in both personal and professional environments, and transform everyday interactions into opportunities for learning, connection, inspiration, and continuous personal development.
In many cases, the true difference between someone who speaks about their day in a basic way and someone who speaks about it like a highly skilled professional lies in their ability to analyze their experiences from multiple perspectives and communicate those insights in a thoughtful and engaging manner. Because rather than simply describing what happened during the day, they explain how different events influenced their emotions, affected their decisions, challenged their assumptions, strengthened their abilities.
That is an excellent point, Mary, because people who have developed exceptional communication skills understand that every conversation is an opportunity to exchange ideas, share experiences, and build stronger connections with others, which is why they make a conscious effort to provide detailed explanations, meaningful observations, and thoughtful conclusions that help listeners not only understand the events being described, but also appreciate the deeper lessons, motivations.
Furthermore, one of the most effective ways to make a conversation about your day sound professional and sophisticated is to incorporate moments of self-reflection and personal evaluation. Because when you openly discuss what went well, what could have been improved, what unexpected challenges arose, how you responded to those challenges, and what specific actions you intend to take in the future as a result of those experiences, you demonstrate maturity, accountability.
Absolutely, and as individuals continue to develop the habit of discussing their daily experiences with clarity, depth, honesty, and purpose, they often discover that their ability to communicate effectively improves dramatically over time, enabling them to express their thoughts more confidently, participate more actively in important discussions, inspire others through their experiences, and transform even the simplest moments of everyday life into meaningful stories that educate, motivate.
What I have come to realize over the years is that the people who leave the strongest impression during conversations are not necessarily those who have the most exciting lives or the most extraordinary experiences, but rather those who possess the ability to communicate their daily experiences with remarkable clarity, depth, and authenticity, because they understand how to transform simple moments into meaningful stories by carefully explaining the context of each situation.
I completely agree with that perspective, Mary, because when a person develops the habit of thoughtfully examining their daily experiences and communicating them in a detailed and organized manner, they gradually become more aware of the patterns, opportunities, and lessons that shape their lives. And this increased awareness not only improves their ability to hold meaningful conversations, but also strengthens their decision-making skills, emotional intelligence, self-confidence, and overall sense of purpose.
Another reason why learning to talk about your day like a professional is so valuable is that it encourages you to become an active observer of your own experiences rather than simply moving through your routine without reflection. Because once you begin paying closer attention to the people you meet, the conversations you have, the problems you solve, the mistakes you make, and the achievements you accomplish.
Exactly, and perhaps the most powerful benefit of mastering this skill is that it allows you to transform everyday experiences into valuable sources of knowledge, motivation, and inspiration. Because when you regularly analyze your actions, evaluate your progress, celebrate your achievements, learn from your setbacks, and share those insights with others in a thoughtful and articulate way, you create conversations that go far beyond simple descriptions of daily events.
In my view, one of the most extraordinary abilities a person can develop is the capacity to speak about their daily experiences in such a detailed, thoughtful, and engaging manner that even the most routine activities become fascinating stories filled with insight and meaning. Because when you take the time to carefully reflect on the events of your day, examine the decisions you made, consider the emotions you experienced, evaluate the challenges you encountered, and identify the lessons you learned along the way.
That is a truly important point, Mary, because people often underestimate the value of their daily experiences simply because those experiences seem ordinary to them. Yet when those same experiences are described with clarity, honesty, and thoughtful reflection, they can reveal powerful lessons about perseverance, responsibility, self-improvement, communication, and personal growth. And this is precisely why skilled communicators are able to captivate their audiences so effectively.
Furthermore, when someone consistently practices talking about their day with depth and purpose, they gradually develop a stronger awareness of their own thoughts, behaviors, strengths, and areas for improvement. Because the process of organizing experiences into a coherent narrative requires them to think critically about what happened, why it happened, how they responded, and what they can do differently in the future.
Absolutely, and what makes this skill particularly valuable is that it creates a bridge between experience and understanding, allowing individuals to transform everyday events into opportunities for learning, connection, and self-discovery. Because the more thoughtfully people analyze and communicate their experiences, the more they are able to recognize patterns, appreciate progress, learn from setbacks, and share insights that can benefit both themselves and those around them.
What truly separates exceptional communicators from average speakers is their ability to transform the simple act of talking about their day into a meaningful exploration of their experiences, thoughts, emotions, and personal growth. Because they do not merely recount a sequence of events in chronological order, but instead take the time to explain the significance of those events, the challenges they presented, the decisions that were made in response to them, the lessons that emerged from them.
I completely agree, Mary, because when people learn to speak about their daily experiences with a high level of detail, reflection, and purpose, they begin to realize that every day contains countless opportunities for learning and self-improvement. And by carefully analyzing both their successes and failures, their moments of confidence and uncertainty, and their interactions with other people, they develop a greater understanding of themselves and the world around them.
In addition, one of the most valuable habits that professional communicators develop is the practice of viewing each day as a source of knowledge rather than merely a collection of tasks and responsibilities. Because when they encounter difficulties, they search for lessons. When they achieve success, they analyze the factors that contributed to it. When they make mistakes, they examine how those mistakes can help them improve.
Exactly, and over time, this consistent commitment to observation, reflection, and thoughtful communication enables individuals to develop a remarkable ability to express themselves with clarity, confidence, and authenticity, transforming ordinary conversations about daily life into opportunities for deeper connection, mutual understanding, intellectual growth, and personal inspiration, while simultaneously strengthening the communication skills, self-awareness.